I'd like to start this video off with a friendly reminder. When you see Kevin Costner's buttocks, just remember that this movie didn't only star Kevin Costner, it was directed and produced by him as well. So don't get it twisted. It was Kevin Costner's explicit intention that you see his derriere. It wasn't a case of studio intervention, it wasn't a case of an actor being forced to do something he didn't want to do. No, Kevin Costner showed his keister completely voluntarily. He wanted you to see his caboose. Think about that. Women all around the world marveled at Costner's trunk when it was fervently displayed. Husbands shuddered at the sight of their wives ogling that juicy rump. Dances with Wolves is an epic Western film that tells the story of Lieutenant John Dunbar, a Union Army soldier who's posted at Fort Sedgwick, an abandoned camp at the heart of Indian country. After making contact with a neighboring tribe of Sioux Indians, he begins to develop a kinship with them, and a relationship that begins with a complete lack of communication grows into something much deeper. Let's get this out of the way first. Dances with Wolves shouldn't have won. Martin Scorsese directed Goodfellas the same year, and the fact that the Academy gave Best Picture and Best Director to Kevin Costner over Martin Scorsese is one of the biggest travesties in Oscar history. I mean, really, Kevin Costner, Best Director, over Scorsese? This has to be a joke.
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
Hopefully Martin gets what he deserves sometimes later during the marathon.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more.
Okay, now that I got this injustice out of the way, let's talk about our film of the hour. Dances with Wolves is something of an anomaly to me. On one hand, it showcases a bunch of elements that usually turn me off completely, like the fact that the main character is an utter bore. He's one of the blandest, least interesting main characters I've seen in a while. And the fact that Kevin Costner's performance is fairly wooden and monotonic doesn't help. But even worse than Costner's performance is his narration. Good God, this has got to be the worst narration I've ever heard in my life.
It's been almost 30 days. I have come to enjoy the patterns of my life at Fort Sedgwick.
Today I met a wolf. He seems pretty nice. I think I'll call him Two Socks. I met a group of Indians the other day. At first they didn't like me very much, but then I showed them my coffee grinder and they were very intrigued. I mean, come on. At least pretend that you care, please. He also keeps narrating things that we just saw happen ourselves 10 seconds ago. The narration is the worst part of the film, for sure. Another element that usually turns me off is incredibly slow pacing matched with barely any actual story. This is a 3 or 4 hour film depending on the version you see, and barely anything happens throughout the entire plot. You could have told the same story at half the runtime without dropping any of the plot points. The movie just takes its sweet time for seemingly no reason at all. So why did I say this film is an anomaly? Well, because despite everything I just laid out, for some reason, the movie really worked. Why? Well, it's because the film does an excellent job of transporting you to a wondrous historical setting in an authentic and believable fashion. The film is a visual marvel. The cinematography was beautiful and breathtaking throughout its entirety. I don't think I've ever seen a film with so many beautiful shots of vistas, plains, mountains, wilderness. The camera work does an excellent job in presenting a true sense of scale and grandeur. It was truly a joy to behold. No less grand is the musical score, which injected every shot with a welcome dose of emotion. Those two things together, the cinematography and the music, generate a true sense of awe and amazement. That's how I found myself watching along, nothing of note actually happening, and yet I still enjoyed the experience, because the emotion came not from the story or characters, but from the visuals and the setting. But you know what? Other than the main character, the supporting characters, whilst not the deepest or most interesting, at least felt genuine and earnest. Their development, while slow, was definitely there, and it was satisfying to watch them change and grow. I guess that's another point in the good column. In short, Dances with Wolves, even though it was pretty unlikely, really impressed me. I felt things that I usually don't feel when I watch movies, and they came from unlikely sources. The American frontier was beautifully recreated in this film, to great effect. It made me feel nostalgic, the visuals legitimately mesmerized me, and it also made me feel sad that this time and place in history is no longer with us. So yeah, this film was a definite improvement over the last few films in this marathon. And while it's true that Dances with Wolves shouldn't have won the Oscar that year, it is far from an unworthy winner. The 90s are starting out strong, at least in comparison to how the 80s ended. Dances with Wolves was a very pleasant surprise. I enjoyed it far more than I thought I would, and I recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it yet. That's why it places fairly highly on my list. Up next is the 64th Best Picture winner, a film that'll make you want to invite an old friend for dinner, the only horror film to ever win Best Picture, The Silence of the Lambs. Check back again for the next video of DB Reviews Oscar Madness Marathon and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss a thing. Thank you all very much, and let the journey continue.